Let me just start off this video by saying I don't think that the hate and controversy are combined for Dark Deception has ever been this high in the entirety of its lifetime existence, because I've been here for a hot minute now. What is up YouTube, it's your boy SmackNPie here, and in today's video we're going to talk about the recent surge in hate for Dark Deception. And because of the surge in hatred, a lot of people are coming forth and jumping on the trend. One thing for it to be an opinion, the other thing for it to be just saying things for the sake of saying things, for the sake of making statements, for the sake of Twitter farming points, and here on YouTube. Now, that doesn't invalidate the opinions, the actual opinions and critics and reviews of the genuine issues that are with this game, that are with the glow stick entertainment, the handling of marketing, and even the lore of the game, because that is one of the main points of why we're talking here today about this. Okay, so we've been waiting for chapter 5 for years now, but it was kind of sort of similar for chapter 4 as well. Last time I did a video of like this, there was also a surge of a lot of people hating the fact that, you know, they have to wait so long for this game, but it was only limited to the fact that we have to wait so long for this game. But now the surge is even higher than the previous one, because now it is not just about waiting that long, it is also the game is not that good, that the lore, it makes no sense, and there is just so many points that have come forth now. There was a post that was made that has now been deleted or taken or whatever the case is, where they said that this is the worst mascot horror game of all time. Okay, I quote tweeted that tweet saying, alright, calm down. Some of you said, hey yo, it's just an opinion. I agree with that. It's just an opinion. I 100% believe that there are people out there who would like Garten of Banban, which is actually peak, by the way, peak horror, more than Dark Deception. That's okay, but calling Dark Deception outright worst mascot horror game when it wasn't even a mascot horror until like what, chapter 4 of the game, when there are 3 chapters prior to that, and calling it the worst mascot horror game when there are examples that are out there objectively saying that, okay, if that person hadn't played many other games, okay, it is understandable for them to say it is the worst mascot horror game that they've ever played, because the others that they have played were actually fun and they've enjoyed it. I would have understood that, but it just doesn't stop there. There's also a tweet that kind of sort of started this, that became viral, from Squeak, the developer of Shipwrecked. Again, I've talked to the developer, and I think, cool dude. They said they hate this game. They haven't made it any secret that they hate this game, and it's basically a 2-minute sped up video of the entire walkthrough from chapter 1 to 4 with the caption saying, when does it get good? In the replies we get some interesting stuff, because now fans, because this tweet became viral, now fans are coming from the outside, from other communities, saying things such as, every time I remember that this game existed, I remember that the devs wanted to do a collab with Yandere Simulator. I think I talked about Yandere Simulator and the whole shenanigan and whatnot. I think even just recently the whole thing came up. We made a whole video on it, and even I was like, okay, I'm putting my hands up. But then there's great support for the game as well, like Birdsaw saying this game will forever be one of the greatest horror games for me. Yeah, the difficulty scaling sucks, and some boss fights could be reworked, but other than that, I can't think of anything in the top of my head that makes this game bad. Some people are saying, damn, I didn't know people hated Dark Deception all of a sudden. Others are saying it's just horror Pac-Man. Some are saying this is one of those games where you could just watch a summary video on all the events and be satisfied. Some are asking, actually, what the flip has even happened to Dark Deception? So basically, it's a very mixed reaction. Some people are saying it's a good game, what are you talking about? Others are saying, hey, we understand this game has its flaws, and some are saying, hey, this game is not good, bro. The gameplay is repetitive. These are from all the quote tweets. Yes, I had time. I am a Dark Deception YouTuber after all. I had to read all the quote tweets and whatnot. Of course, when you try to put Dark Deception with giants like Resident Evil or Silent Hill, of course it's gonna lose 100 to none, right? And there's other opinions, and there are other statements like the lore makes no sense, the lore is actually bad and whatnot. I think that is for something I 50-50 agree, because the lore, at least before chapter 4, because the whole lore of Dark Deception prior to chapter 4 was like, it's a parody, right? It is a parody of the horror games that we get from, especially the indie horror game, and the way the whole cult works and the way the protagonist is stupid and whatnot. Then they add in a whole new deep lore for chapter 4. You can really like put the first 3 chapters aside, Chapter 4 alone, that's a different lore, bro. If you try to compare the first 3 chapters lore with Chapter 4 lore, it's a massive difference. I find this comment very interesting. They said it's an odd one. I do like how it's a horror Pac-Man and the representation is very thematically appealing. However, Baldi's Basics kinda eats it in actual gameplay. Feels like a single mob type per level ideology, just hurts Dark Deception, ultimately better as a speedrun concept than of a full game. I find this interesting because I feel like one of the major appeals for this game is because of its gameplay, and I feel like there are people who would prefer Dark Deception's gameplay over Baldi's Basics. I adore Baldi's Basics. I think I'm one of the few fans that are still yearning for a new Baldi's Basic game, but I feel like here they said single mob type per level ideology. I think it seems like a lot of people haven't played the game, haven't played Chapter 4, but the enemies, they do increase and they do have multiple new ways they become a threat to you, like Lucky with the speed boost, Pig with, smashing doors and smashing walls and whatnot, and Penny flying and throwing eggs at you to stun you. There are variety in the gameplay, but make no mistake, like there are bug issues, balancing issues, there are issues, technical issues that we should be talking about. But yeah, there's also this comment that really interesting. Here they said, I feel like the game wants to be mainstream really badly compared to other indie games, and it just feels a bit odd, and I feel like they're working on too many things at once, even though they aren't done with the core game. It is really odd to me. I feel like, again, that's a double-edged sword. I kind of sort of agree on the fact that maybe we should have finished Chapter 5 first before we started making Monsters and Mortals and Super Dark Deception, but I do feel like at least Super Dark Deception is a welcome change of pace, is a welcome interruption, distraction. IHS Game, one of our colleagues here, saying funny since Dark Deception isn't a walking simulator. It doesn't appeal to children because the original one was saying it is a walking simulator. Has replay value than most indie horror games. Doesn't require 100 books to understand the lore. IHS, don't say that. Books are coming, bro. Chill out. And I hope it's not 100 books, bro. Lore isn't retconned. Oh, I don't know about that one as well. We don't know. See, here's the thing. We don't know. Vince would say that hasn't happened before, but we don't know. And not milked. Dark Deception is actually one of the more respectable indie horror games. And to rebuttal that, they're saying, RNG here said, by the way, great speedruns. I agree with everything but the last point. Glowstick has released 18 plushies with more on the way without the game being done yet, and the fans are starting to get tired of all the new plushies. I'm not saying merch is bad, but it would be nice to get news instead of more merch. Get Pond to say I shouldn't read that name. First 3, I disagree. Game is majorly walking simulator. Majority of the time you just use perks cause easy mode, when the baseline is a walking chase simulator. Majority audience are children, so you're wrong on that. It's repetitive. It doesn't pull anything unique, exciting, but just for 100% excuse. Sir Lucas here is saying, more things Dark Deception does well, based off games from 90s rather than copying popular indie games. Garden of Banban copied Poppy Playtime, which copied Bendy, which copied Bioshock. And also not afraid to talk about the sensitive subjects of autism. Most media won't talk about the hardship, just how quirky it is. And that in and of itself has become a topic of discussion ever since the surge in and the hate and controversy on Dark Deception. There's a whole thread of people are saying how this thing is done bad. I feel like all the opinions, such as the lore that makes no sense, sometimes the bugging issues, all that is like fair and valid and whatnot. I think all this, because I don't think I've seen this much hate ever in Dark Deception timeline. The last time we've had something of this is when Chapter 4 was delayed. It was delayed, and there was this Yandere simulator controversy. I think this all stemmed from the fact that the game kind of sorta waiting for Chapter 5. I think the wait this time for Chapter 5 has actually done a lot of damage, and I would actually rephrase that and say it's the silence for Chapter 5 that has done this much damage, because I think, similar to Chapter 4, that took a very long time, let's be honest, but since we were getting small gameplay snips, we were getting teasers from in-game, and even whilst it was being worked on, there were some Unreal Engine or whatever the engine was, we were getting clips off of that. So there was always like hype and excitement, and people are like, okay, what is next and whatnot. Of course, now a few years have passed and there's silence. Of course, one thing is going to lead to another. You're going to be like, oh man, this wait is taking forever. By the way, the game had so many issues. Of course, it's going to start popping off. Even the best of of the best games have issues like this. I'm gonna come out here and say it's no Resident Evil, it's no Silent Hill. It is a game that is for niche. It is a niche horror game. Let's be honest, alright? I'm not gonna call it a mascot horror game. I'm gonna call it a niche horror game, a niche indie horror game. So I'm not gonna say who's right or who's wrong. People are being a bit harsh on that game. I say the controversy surrounding the marketing is completely valid. The silence has done more damage to Dark Deception than anything else, because anything else that can be fixed, the bugs, the lore, the stuff like that, it can be fixed. But the silence, the marketing, I think Corey Kinshan said this in one of his Puppy Playtime video, that he had to wait so long between Bendy chapter 4 and 5 that he stopped caring about it, so much so that he didn't even play Bendy chapter 5. That was he saying when Puppy Playtime Chapter 2 had dropped, and he was like, he hopes that that's not the case for freaking Puppy Playtime, and we hope that Chapter 5 drops soon. And I feel like, and I hope that after Chapter 5 has dropped, Vincent Livingston Close Game will change their strategy just a little bit in how they wanna release their things. Because let's take a look at Super Dark Deception. I think even the delays are not hurting Super Dark Deception, because we are still getting teasers. Like, look at just recently we got a new teaser for Super Dark Deception. Again, that's like, Super Dark Deception is like a niche of Dark Deception, which is already a niche. So I feel like he should just learn from Super Dark Deception. I know it's his prized possession, and I know he wants this experience for the fans, which is why I know it's going to be worth it. But I feel like as a whole, as a business wise, I feel like more teasers, more news updates, since now like we're getting closer to the releasing of Chapter 5 anyway, right? And since it's the final chapter, I feel like he's like, okay, let it happen. It's the final chapter. Once it drops, all this is gonna be brushed aside. I feel like that will happen, bro. When the game actually drops, a lot of this hate and controversy is gonna be brushed aside. People actually gonna start praising it. Mark my words. Okay, let's end this video here. Hopefully next time we do some teaser analysis. 100K. Let's go.